Dear God, no. Dear Ruby, dear God, dear Ruby, dear Sky, dear Fire, dear Charles, I laid you to rest today, Charles. I thought I would cry, but I didn't, not once. I guess I really have gotten used to the deaths, to losing those I love. First you, Ruby, then you, Charles. After the funeral, there was a line of people waiting to view you and to offer me their condolences, and I couldn't see the line, but Calvin told me it wrapped around the church about 10 times. I thought it would just be about an hour, but I ended up staying there, greeting people until close to 12 a.m. this morning. The first few hours they kept telling me I could go to get some rest for the burial in the morning, but every time they told me to go home and get some rest, I'd say, my husband is getting enough rest for the both of us, so I'm fine right here by his side. I'm not leaving him. Eventually, they finally realized I really wasn't leaving you, so they got me a chair. All kinds of people came to pay their respects. Men, women, kids, coloreds, whites, Asians, everybody. Oh, it would have filled your heart to see them all. What struck me was the very last person who came to pay their respects. It was this real old woman who looked like she could have been older than God, if I can be honest. Since not many people knew that we were expecting, you can understand why I was taken aback by her asking, "How are you gonna raise your baby?" I cut her off before she could say, "Without Reverend Grace." I studied her for a bit, wondering who she was before I answer. Understanding its place in this world as a colored person, teaching it that its father fought hard for it to live in the world that it's living in today. I told her, I pray it's a girl, so I can raise her to know she is God. Raise a child that knows its love. The old woman smiles very sweetly and disappears out the church. And I just stood there, wishing you weren't gone, Charles. Wishing I got to know you better, Ruby. I stood in that church by myself, holding my belly filled with you, little baby, and listening to the quiet, trying to hear what to do with you, wondering, do I spare you from this world, or do I bring you into it so you can be here for the changes your daddy died for you to be the reflection of God that will further change things? I just stood there, listening for an answer while feeling the words I spoke at your service, Charles. Ooh, you should should have heard me. I was preaching. I don't quite have your charisma, Charles, but I did have your heart. I hope I made you proud. The whole church clapped and hooped and hollered and amen for almost 10 minutes from my words. I kid you not. I felt the moment you talked about when you feel people's burdens get light. I felt it all from my preaching. Y'all want to hear what I told them? Okay. My great granddaddy, Henry, was born a slave. On the plantation he lived at was a tall, tall tree that some said went straight up to heaven. Every day he'd climb it in hopes of getting to heaven to ask God some questions. He asked God, "Why are we down here being treated like this? When will the pain and suffering end?" I think about my great granddaddy and those questions he asked God often, especially when I see fireflies. God came to me in a dream once and told me that we are all fireflies, every single one of us, particularly us coloreds. And this world tries mighty hard to catch and steal our light. But we have to remember that the power is in us. So no one can ever steal our light because we have a special assignment given from the one who sits high and looks low. Our assignment is to fly. We have to fly as high as we possibly can. We have to soar because the higher we are, the better we'll be at making this world a brighter place. Let those little wings hum. Fly on, fireflies. Fly on. Not because you need to get to the promised land, because it's already inside of us. We have to fly on together, just past the fiery sky, to that place of peace and love that's deep within us. Because once we're all there, the promises inside of us will pour out and shake this world into a glorious new, a new where we won't have to ask, why are we being treated like this? A new that's void of pain and suffering. So, fly on, fireflies, with all the love you have, and open up this sky with a resounding light. Oh.